Hello, this is your tutorial of how to make the Muscari cluster wreath. So within your kit, you should have a wicker wreath base. You should then have a pot of Muscari, and you will also have a roll of wire, along with some moss pins and some moss. So to get started, we take our wreath base and we will lay it out in front of us. We then will take a wad of our moss and position that wherever we would like it on the wreath. We'll then just continue to build that up. What we want is for it to look wider than the rest of the sort of wreath base. We want it to pop out slightly, so we can position that and just keep adding. I like to lay it out first so that I can see exactly what it may look like before I secure it, because obviously we're working with live plants and I mean they're delicate obviously, so we don't want to secure things and then have to pull it all apart. What I then do, I've already cut this piece myself, but you'll have your roll of wire. We will then get a small bit of wire. We will wrap it around the moss, and at the back we will then twist it. With these long ends that we then have left, we'll just tuck them in so they can't be seen. Obviously that bit wasn't secured, so that's fallen off. But we will then just go back in, more wire, secure it on. Obviously if we didn't put enough on in the beginning of the moss when we were laying it out, that's absolutely fine, we can continue to add to it. Obviously it's going to squash down slightly when you are attaching it to the wreath, so you may not realise quite how much you need to begin with. I'm going to take a little bit more, and I want it to kind of, as much as I want it to pop out of the wreath, I think I then want it to blend so that it gets slightly lower on the outside edges. You don't want to pull it too tight, your wire, because as I say, all it will do is squash the moss, and then you will be able to see the wire a bit more visibly. But all I'm doing is continuing to wrap the wire around and tuck the edges in. Again, adding as I go. You should have plenty of moss to do this with. Obviously, as much as your wire is green, you want to try and do it so that you cannot see the wire. However, we will be going in at the end with some more decorative bits and obviously your bulbs, so you are less likely to be able to see the wire by the end, but just be conscious of that as we go along. So what I'm kind of doing is I'm just playing about with it a little bit to make sure that I'm covering that wire. This is then what we have for the moment. So as you can see, it's a bit bulkier here and it starts to fade out slightly at the ends, and the back, you'll see a bit of the moss, but we want it to sit reasonably flat for wherever you're hanging it basically. We don't want it to then be sitting wonky against the door because the back of it is too sort of raised. Then what we'll do, you have your pot of Muscari. Now it's up to you however many you use. You could do them in a line if you like, have it quite uniform. You could have it in a bunch. You could simply put one if you really like to. What we'll do is we will take our Muscari out of the pot. Ooh, one of them's already loose, so that's lovely. But we will start to press and pull each bulb apart. So you'll see that you do have a lot of root here, we don't need all of that. So don't worry about breaking the roots. Obviously we don't want to pull all the roots from the bottom, but we don't need these long lengths. I mean, they'll just dangle down and take over the whole reef if we leave them. So as these slowly start to come apart, there we go. We will take them one by one, and we want to shake a bit of the soil off, again being delicate. And as you can see, we've got that long length of root there. We don't need all of that, so what I'll just do is twist it and pull it off, and we are left with one bulb for the moment. We then get our moss pin, and the way that we would secure it is to lay it wherever you would like your Muscari to sit, and the moss pin will grab the roots of the Muscari like so. You should be able to see that, and we push it in, and that is secured like that. Obviously the roots at the moment are starting to cover up the moss a little bit, but we'll build that back up as we finish. So again, the next one, shake a bit of that soil off. Again, we've got some long roots here, so we will rip those off a bit, grab another moss pin and secure the Muscari to the wreath. And that is what we have so far. And we basically just continue that process until we've either used all of our Muscari or until we've used as many as we want, basically. Again, pulling some of that root off. I want to try and get these ones so they sit at different levels. And what it then does is when they grow into the centre of the reef, which is lovely if they're all at different heights. So within your pot of Muscari, there is probably, I mean, it's going to vary, but there'll be from 5 to 6, maybe 7 bulbs in there. So absolutely plenty. You may even have some left over that you can plant in the garden. So again, I'm just pushing that in. We want to make sure that we're not piercing the bulb, so we're not putting the moss pin through the bulb and damaging the bulb, basically. We just want it to hold the roots in place. So again, taking a bit of that rootage off. I'm going to try and tuck one in there slightly, I think. Not run out of the moss pin, one out of there. And it's just about, again, you can place them before you attach them to see what sort of layout you'd like, or you can wing it. So now this is what we're with at the moment. I think I like that as it is, so I'm going to leave that as 5 bulbs on there. What we're then going to do, again, grab a little bit more of our moss in smaller chunks this time, because we don't want to add too much bulk to it. But we're going to get some more of our moss pins this time, and we're going to push them in. And as you can see, I've done it on this bottom one here. I've added, oh, that needs a bit more securing. So we'll just go in with another moss pin. But as I say, as you can see, this bottom one here, you now can't see the roots. And that's the aim. I mean, if you like the exposed roots, then of course, feel free to leave them as they are. And the good thing with moss is because it's so unpredictable and it's very sort of wild and all over the place, if you can see a moss pin where you've pinned this moss in, you can easily just kind of tuft the moss up a bit to expose that. As long as it's secure, yeah, then we're all good. Again, I'm taking another small bit. It's good as well because what you can do is you can spread bits so that they sit over more than one root. Obviously you don't have to keep working on each individual one, but this is what that should now, that will focus. Come on, not on my face, on the wreath, there we go. And that is what that is then looking like. Now, to obviously attach this to the door or wherever you'd like to hang it, you will have a bit of rope. I mean, obviously you can use ribbon, you can use whatever you'd like to tie this basically. But I've put some rope and we're just gonna tie it in a knot. This bit that I've cut is probably a little bit too short. Yours will be longer than mine will be. Again, you don't even have to use any rope. You can just hook it as it is. So then I like to tuck that knot that we've just tied behind. And again, we're then left with a loop that we can hang on a wreath hook. And we have our wreath. So the other thing you can also do if you were looking to have it more of a table decoration is all you would have to do is stand your bulbs up and again pin your roots of your Muscari into the moss, but stood upwards. You could scatter your moss, you could do little clusters of Muscari and various bits on your wreath. You can really mix it up and do whatever you like with it basically. So yeah, feel free to kind of make it your own and experiment a little bit. But this is now our finished cluster Muscari wreath.